Hello everyone. If you don't already know me, my name is Jagan Clark, and today I'm going to be covering the 7 credit cards I have as a college student. It might sound kind of unnecessary to have 7 credit cards while in college. You by no means need to have all 7 of these credit cards. This is more so just to show you the 7 I have, and hopefully you can pick and choose which credit card would be beneficial to your specific situation. And the bottom line is, as students, it's super beneficial to get started really early on building your credit, and that's the primary reason for having these credit cards. Though all the benefits and cashback I'll be talking about is nice, just make sure we keep track of that bottom line. Also, before we get started, it just needs to be said, make sure to use credit cards responsibly, pay them off on time and in full every single time. This contributes to about 65% of your credit score, so it defeats the purpose of having any of these credit cards if you're not doing those two things, paying it off in full and on time. The 7 credit cards I'll be talking about today are roughly listed in order of the minimum credit score necessary to be accepted. Of the entire list, only one of these cards has an annual fee. The rest of them have 0 annual fee, so keep that in mind while you're watching this. And make sure to stay till the end, because the last credit card I'll be talking about is probably, in my opinion, the best card, and not a lot of people know about it yet. So let's get started. So the first credit card I ever got was the Citi Double Cash. I recommend it to most everyone when they're getting started. This card gives you 2% on every single purchase, 1% when you buy, and 1% when you pay it back. There's not much more to talk about when it comes to this card. It's just a great card because 2% on everything. If you only have one card, this is what you want it to be. I describe this as the first card for building your arsenal of credit cards, just because it'll be your default card from there on. If you're thinking about applying for the Citi Double Cash, keep in mind you need around a 600 minimum credit score to be accepted. The next credit card is also with Citi. It's the Citi Custom Cash. This card came out relatively recently, and the main benefit is it gives you 5% on your top spend category. Examples of these top spend categories include restaurants, gas stations, grocery stores, select travel, select transit, select streaming services, drugstores, home improvement stores, fitness clubs, or live entertainment. So for most of you, what that'll mean is probably grocery stores or gas stations. So for this 5% card, I mainly use it since one of my biggest spends is groceries. So I use it for groceries. I recommend just choosing one category. So for instance, groceries, and just putting all your groceries onto this one card and nothing else, because aside from the 5% bonus on your main category, everything else is 1%. So in that case, all of the rest of your purchases should be on that default 2% Citi Double Cash card. Additionally, they have a promo going on right now where you get $200 cash back when you spend $1,500 within the first 6 months of opening the account. This card comes with a recommended credit score of about 640, so make sure you're easily above that when you apply. Another quick tip when you start getting super into this credit card game is I actually changed my Citi Double Cash to a Citi Custom Cash. So technically it's impossible to open 2 custom cash cards, which would mean you'd have 2 5% categories on top spends. But if you take your Citi Double Cash, call Citi and request to have it changed to custom cash, they'll do so for you, which means you can technically have 2 Citi Custom Cash cards. This is great because one of them I actually use for groceries, and then the other one I use for gas stations. So I have those 2 categories, which are usually my highest spend categories, covered. However, if you do this method, you're gonna need another default 2% card. And this is where the next card I got, the Apple credit card, comes in. So I got my Apple credit card after I switched my Citi Double Cash to Citi Custom Cash. The reason being is this card gives you 2% back on all Apple Pay purchases, and since pretty much everywhere you go takes Apple Pay, I kind of use it as a default 2% cashback card. This card also gives you 3% on anything Apple, as well as some select retailers such as Nike, Uber Eats, and Walgreens. I love how fluid the interface of this card is for breaking down purchases, managing spending categories, and paying off your balance. The Apple credit card is also made out of titanium, which doesn't really matter, but it makes for a pretty cool sound. Like, come on. Another reason I got the Apple credit card is because once you get it, you're able to open a high yield savings account through Goldman Sachs. This gives you about 4.15% APY, which is over 10 times the national average for savings accounts. I actually really cared about opening this high yield savings account because I was trying to build up an emergency fund, and a great place to store an emergency fund is in a high yield savings account. So you're making that passive income. For the Apple credit card, the recommended credit score is around a 660, but again, you should hopefully aim to be higher when you're applying. This next card is a little lower on the list because Chase is known for being a little stringent on accepting low credit scores. This card is the Freedom Flex, and you should have a credit score of at least 670 or above, but again, because it's Chase, I'd recommend having a lot higher. This card offers 5% back on quarterly rotating categories up to $1,500. That limit shouldn't really be a problem for students, as I don't think you'll be spending $1,500 on one card, so don't really worry about that. Right now, it's offering 5% cash back on gas stations and live entertainments, but some other categories it rotates between are grocery stores, fitness clubs, and Amazon, among others. This card also offers a great bonus of $200 once you spend $500 in the first 3 months of opening your account. The next card on the list is one of my personal favorites. It's the Amazon Prime Visa. So technically, this one doesn't have an annual fee, but you do have to have an Amazon Prime account in order to apply. The great thing though is as students, we get a discount on Amazon Prime. We get the first 6 months free and then $5 a month thereafter, or $60 a year. Also, Prime Student comes with a lot of other great deals. The discounts I personally used are free delivery with Grubhub, 2 months free of Kindle Unlimited, and the Calm app for $8.99 a year. If you don't know, the Calm app's a great app. It's probably one of the best apps out there for meditation and other such things. So if you're into that, that's another bonus, because usually I think it's around $70 a year. So for the card itself, the main bonus is 5% back on all Amazon purchases. That kind of pays for itself. I let my family use my Amazon Prime account. So again, everyone's getting that 5% and they all get their free deliveries and fast, quick shipping and all that stuff you want. Also, if you use my link in the description, you'll get $200 of Amazon credits instantly upon approval. To apply for this card, you should plan on having a credit score of around 670 or above. So this next card I don't actually have, but the main reason is because I'm not traveling a lot. However, I wanted to include it for people who are like studying abroad or going to Europe for the summer or all that. This card's the Chase Sapphire Preferred. It's one of the best, if not the best, travel card out there. You know, when you scour the internet, this is going to be the #1 card you find for travel. The main reasons for that is it gives you 5% back on all travel purchases and no foreign transaction fees. Additionally, you get 3% back on online groceries, dining, and select streaming services. So this card is the one card that actually does have an annual fee. The annual fee is $95 a year. However, every single year you have $50 given to you of hotel credits. So the effective annual fee comes out to basically $45. This card is also great because it offers you travel and purchase protection, such as trip cancellation insurance, trip delay reimbursements, and baggage delay insurance. Right now, they're offering 60,000 bonus points, which normally would be $600 cash back, but when spent on travel is $750. I know $4,000 is a lot as a student, so I would recommend applying for this card only when you know you have an upcoming really big purchase. Also, I would wait a little while to get this credit card as it requires a 690 credit score. Finally, my favorite card of them all, the Built MasterCard. In addition to having the sleek black design, this card offers you 1% back on rent and waives all the transaction fees. This means if you're paying $1,000 a month on rent, over a year, this card will put about $120 back in your pocket. This effectively allows you to build your credit history simply by paying rent. Even if your property only accepts checks, you can still pay with card through the Built Rewards app and they'll send a check on your behalf. In addition to 1% back on rent, it also offers 3% back on dining and 2% on travel. If you're planning on getting this credit card, the recommended minimum credit score is 670. So in terms of how I actually use all these cards, I use the Apple Card as my default on all purchases because that gives me the 2% back. However, on certain categories, I use the other cards. So for groceries, I'd use that first Citi Custom Cash. For Amazon purchases, I'd use that Amazon card. And for rent, I would use that Built MasterCard. I also use my Freedom Flex for that 3% on dining and the 5% on rotating categories. Depending on what the rotating category is, I'll either use the Freedom Flex or that second Citi Custom Cash card. An example of this is, let's say for one quarter, the 5% category is gyms, then I can use my Freedom Flex for gyms and then use my 5% for gas stations. And then if that switches, I can use my second Citi Custom Cash for gyms and then use the quarterly rotating of the Freedom Flex for gas stations. So depending on what the quarterly rotating category is, I'll kind of pick and choose which card I should use. So this is just my personal lineup of credit cards that works for my lifestyle. Of course, this isn't a one size fits all, so figure out what works for you. Maybe you only want one of these, maybe there's a few of them that you plan on getting, and kind of pick those accordingly. So I decided to make this video because I'm a little bit of a credit card nerd. 7 credit cards as a student is kind of a lot, and it's a lot to manage. But since I'm super into this and I find it fun, I don't mind. I don't find it to be a hassle at all. Some people might think that, having to shuffle through seven different credit cards every single time you go to the grocery store or wherever might become a hassle, but for me it's like fun to egg out the extra points I can use. I also want to reiterate that not everyone is a credit card person. A lot of people, they'll see those spending limits of $3,000, $5,000 and they'll immediately cap them and won't be able to repay them. The biggest thing you want to make sure is just stay out of credit card debt. Debt is the one thing that can just ruin your lifestyle for the future. And as a student, you probably already have more than enough of that with student loans. If you think there's cards I'm missing or other cards I should have added to the list, feel free to comment down below. Additionally, if you're looking to apply for one of these cards and want to help me out, there are links in the description, so check those out. If you're starting to get into finance and want to see more videos on how to become financially stable when you're young, look forward to those because a lot of that is coming, and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching and have a great rest of your day. Y'all take care.